What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel here. This is Rob Bifo here with another Hot Toys review. And I know what you're thinking. Rob, why are we getting a review for the Force Awakens Kylo Ren when the Rise of Skywalker Kylo Ren just released this past couple of weeks and was shipping out to everybody? Well, I'll tell you why. Reason is I don't like that one. And I just got this one. It's really that simple. I think this is the best, at least, look of Kylo Ren. It may not be the best figure of Kylo Ren per se. There are some things that I kind of would like this one to have. Some things that this one could have done a little bit better. But as far as the actual overall like costume and appearance of Kylo Ren, I think the Force Awakens kind of version is the superior and definitive Kylo Ren. Now, like I said, there are a couple things that I kind of wish that this figure did have or come with as maybe additional features, some things along those lines. But we will, of course, get into that a little later on here in the video once we get on with the unboxing. And then at the end, I'll have them in a couple poses if you're new here. I do the unboxing portion, then I have him in a couple poses, and I kind of give my final thoughts over everything while he's on the turntable and all that sorts of fun stuff. And I will, if you caught the stream this past week, I will indeed be able to have a side-by-side comparison of this Force Awakens Kylo Ren with the Force Awakens Captain Phasma as well. So stay tuned for that. But with all that down and out of the way, let's go ahead, get everything off the turntable here and take a look at everything it comes with. All right, so here we are, guys. This is the box art. Well, not, I guess it is the box art, really. It's a standard Star Wars box. So you got your black, or your, God, I'm all mixed up today. You got your black with your gray here, classic Star Wars Hot Toys and Sideshow boxes, all with that same design. You got a picture of the figure right there on the front, obviously with a glowing lightsaber effect. Nothing on the side, just Star Wars Kylo Ren, MMS 320, nothing on the side, and then your classic credits there on the back. It opens up just like a kind of your standard box there. Then you have some actual box artwork here, a little art print there with some First Order troopers in the back, TIE fighter up there. It's a pretty nice little picture, simple, get to the job done. And then, of course, you do have Kylo Ren himself, always impossible to see with all the glare on the plastic and everything. So let's get this off and take a look. He is fairly simple as far as accessories. Doesn't come with a whole bunch of stuff, but he does come with the basics. As you can see, he's got a couple of different hands. I already have his lightsaber hand on. That's why this one is just kind of awkwardly sitting there. You got the classic cross-guard lightsaber here for Kylo Ren. And then the figure himself right here. And the first impressions you have of this thing, at least for me, is yeah, this is Kylo Ren from Force Awakens, like 100% through and through. Looks really nice. The outfit looks good. It's got an interesting texture. It's a much more different texture than I actually expected the outfit to be when I first got it out. The helmet looks really, really nicely sculpted. One of the interesting things they did was with this hood, and we'll actually get more into that once I get everything out to take a closer look at everything, but the head sculpt, though, well, the helmet sculpt, I guess you could say, looks fantastic. I love all the weathering, the little scrapes it's done on it. There's even some, like, kind of like a paint spray effect on here to where it's not just, like, perfectly and neatly done. Like, it almost looks like, you take a spray can of, like, spray paint and you get too much, you hold down on it too much and it kind of splatters on there. It has that kind of effect on it through the top, which it just kind of brings it to life. It's not too clean looking. It's all scraped up. But it has that kind of like paint effect on it. Almost makes it look like raindrops or something along those lines too even. It's very nicely done though in the end. And then you have this nice aluminum kind of, it doesn't look chrome. It looks more like a polished aluminum kind of feel. It looks really good though. So to me, I think this looks fantastic. And they changed this up with the most recent not Force Awakens, rather, the Rise of Skywalker Kylo Ren, where the eye panel here on the helmet is actually sculpted in. And I do think that is probably a better choice just because they have the cloth sitting here, which is kind of accurate to the film. It is just like a layer of cloth there, if I'm not mistaken. But it does make it sit pretty far back in the helmet. So with the newer sculpt, it sits a little closer up, and there's actually some a little bit more texture to it, so it kinda gives it a little bit more life. But all in all, again, like I kinda said off the top, I think this is my favorite actual costuming appearance of Kylo. But we'll go through and take a little bit closer look at the rest of the outfit and, everything he comes with here once so I'm gonna get it all out of the box and then get it all laid out on the table so we can take a closer look. Alright, so here is everything he comes with. So like I kind of said already, he doesn't come with a whole lot of stuff. He does just kinda come with, the bare minimum basics here. So let's take a look at the biggest thing he comes with, and that is the stand. Which, I mean, it's got the First Order logo on it. It's pretty standard for everything that came with the Force Awakens figures in particular. I'm not sure if they switched them up with the later installments of the sequel trilogy, as this and the Captain Phasma that I'll have a review up later on in the coming weeks. And you'll see first, and I'll have her out here in comparison with Kylo here in just a little bit. But they're the only two sequel trilogy figures I have. Sorry, I just stepped away real quick 'cause my AC kicked on, didn't want it humming on there in the background, so I wouldn't turn that off. But like I said, those are the only two sequel trilogy figures I have. They're really the only two I'm interested in having. So cannot confirm whether or not they kept this base design up throughout the rest of the sequel trilogy. I'm not the biggest fan of these bases just because they're kind of basic. I do like that you have this like extra layer of like kind of like acrylic plastic over top, so it gives it like a little bit more texture. If you're kind of only though, if you're looking at it from the side, is the only time you can really see it. But it does give you a nice glossy finish over top of this and gives it some depth rather. So that's kind of fine. But in the end, I do prefer even the newer, or at least the more standard Star Wars like basic bases that are just your standard rectangle that have the aluminum nameplates on them. I honestly tend to like those a lot more than this, but I don't really intend on using the base for it anymore, so I or with these figures in particular, so it doesn't really bother me. I'm just not the biggest fan of these bases myself, but that is entirely subjective. You might like them, and they might fit in perfectly. Elsewise, though, it obviously comes with the batteries needed for the lightsaber arm here, the LED lightsaber arm, and as you can see, the lightsaber hilt looks very nicely done. It's got a very nice paint application to it. Got some nice detail, like the heat bluing that's done around the cross guard section. It looks very, very nice. And we'll obviously take a look at the full lightsaber hilt here and get a better look at it. But I do like the design, at least the paint app of the lightsaber itself. I think they did a really good job. I don't know why my camera just doesn't want to focus on this thing. But yeah, I like the detailing here, how the sculpting here, there's actually like a gap in between on the bottom of the hilt, the pommel section. I think that's a really nice touch. That looks very good. Nothing crazy. If you've never seen an LED lightsaber arm, you essentially just unscrew this section here, pop the 3 batteries in, on off switch, and you are good to go. I don't tend to ever use these things because the LEDs aren't really bright enough to ever go through the entire blade, and they're very cumbersome to get to to turn on. Like as you can see, the light switch is here. So if you want to turn it on, you'd have to finagle this sleeve all the way up just to turn it on, pull it down, and then there you go. You could get to it. Yay. But it does unzip. But nevertheless, it's very cumbersome to have to get to. And then, like I said, it doesn't really light them up all the way, and the batteries die very quick. So I'm never the biggest fan of those to begin with. But let's take a look at the actual lightsaber here, the standard one, so you can actually see it in a little bit more detail. I really love the paint application on this. I think they did a really great job for such like a small piece. It's nice and weathered. It's kind of almost got like a rusted feel to it. And I love this tiny little blue detailing that it has right inside there. It looks very nicely done. The paint finish on it also gives it a nice metallic look. So it looks really well done. And again, it's got the heat bluing and everything on the cross guard section. Not as much detail on the back end, but I think they did a really good job with this. I'm actually quite impressed. I didn't really expect too much from it. You know, even a nice little like gold bronzish paint app down here. Again, looking nice and reflective. And then you have like some red on the bottom here. And again, I think they did really good. Then you have, unlike the standard lightsabers, Kylo's is what they refer to as an unstable blade, and they actually have like some notches on here to actually give it the illusion of being unstable like that. Now, the lighting and everything and the white backdrop makes it look a lot more translucent than it really is. Granted, it is translucent, and the it's kind of hard to see, but the thicker part of the blade, the longer blade, is a bit more translucent than the crossguard sections. But it isn't just like completely clear. It is red, so just don't fret there. But you can even see right now is a good example where this is much more translucent than these two. You can't really tell when it's normal lighting. Like when I put it against my skin tone, it doesn't really stand out that much, although it is there. So you do have that. Nothing I'm really concerned about, though. It looks like a lightsaber to me. I'm not too worried about it. And then the only other thing it comes with, he obviously comes with 2 additional ball joints in case you break the other 2. And then you've got some hands here, which are all very nicely done. They're fairly basic, but they did a really good job with the sculpts. Like you have this nice, they look like leather gloves. They look really well done. You have this theme going along right through here and right through here on the like the inner palm section of the hand. Looks very nicely done. You even have wrinkles upon where all the knuckles are. That's very nice. Not a whole lot of weathering or dirt on the gloves, um, which is kind of odd just because there is like quite a bit on the boots, which we'll obviously take a look at once we bring the figure out here in just a moment. There's a very small amount up here, but I mean, I guess it makes sense that your boots would be a little bit more dirty looking than your hands, but I would have liked to see it just be a little more consistent with what the boots look like, just a tad. But nevertheless, I think they did a really good job with these hands. They all pretty much look the same, just different hand designs. I guess here's a good example though. For instance, there's very little like dirt going in here. It doesn't really look, they look fairly clean, but then this hand, for instance, you can see actually has a lot more of that dirt and dust kind of going around all through the stitching on here. So I would have preferred them to be just a little bit more consistent. Like these actually match the gloves very, very well, or the boots rather. And then, like I said, it's just kind of odd that, I mean, these are both the left hand. So you would think they would look exactly the same, but alas, they do not. But that pretty much covers everything with the hands and all the accessories that it comes with. So now what I'm going to do is get all this stuff off the table, bring the figure out, and take a much closer look. All right, so now we have the man back out here himself. So let's take a bit of a closer look at the helmet and everything. I know I went over it a little bit earlier, but I really love all of the like scratches that are going around the helmet throughout, all the weathering job. It's very nicely done. As you see, it picks up really nice. They went through the effort of, they're not just etched in. There is like a different paint like application on there. They're like silver shining through, so it looks, like it's an aluminum piece or a steel piece, and then the black paint got scraped off of it in combat or something along those lines. It looks very nicely done. And you got some more going around the back end side there. And I do like that this isn't like very shiny chrome. I like that it's more of a brushed aluminum kind of feel to it. I really like it. It looks very good. Now, the one thing I did mention that was like interesting that they did with the hooded portion is that there's no wire in here, but it's actually like fitted. So you can't really move this or anything. It does fit perfectly over the head sculpt though. So there's really no complaints from me in that regard. So it doesn't really need the wire by any means at all. It's just interesting that they actually chose to like sew this in. So it's actually just one solid piece essentially. I mean, it's all fabric, but it's sewn in the back here. And then it's sewn in on both portions on the front left and right side of the figure. So you do have to kind of like finesse it off of his head, and you can get it to sit behind him just like so. So it still does work. Part of me kind of wishes it wasn't like that, just so it would, like, if you wanted to have the helmet or the hood down, it would rest down here a little bit better. Because of the sewing and it being stitched in there, it doesn't really sit down all too well. You can kind of finagle it and get it to do it just by like kind of tucking it in and under here, and then you can get it to kind of sit like a little bit better down there. So it ends up working, and I'm perfectly happy with it. It doesn't bother me at all. Now, the interesting thing that with the material here, as you can see, let me zoom out like a little bit, is that it's like it's kind of reflective. So it's almost like I don't even know. It's almost like a polyurethane, like I don't know if I'm thinking of the right fabric. Like a nylon material. That's what I'm looking for, like a nylon material. And there is a wire down here on the bottom of the cape. It's a very thin wire, but it is there. There is not a wire going down through these sections, so there's no wire here. But yes, there is a wire on both sides of this. And then I believe there is also one here in the back side. It's a little bit thicker of a wire for the back portion. And then on here, I do really like that they have this all torn up. Like, this looks really nice done. This is one of the things I really liked about the look of this Kylo Ren. I loved this kind of distressed cloak that he just like kind of has thrown on him. That's like I even replicated this kind of look for my own kind of cosplay, and I'll probably do a reveal of that at some point in time. It's not a Kylo Ren cosplay; it's just like a Sith Jedi kind of cosplay, but I have a cloak that is very reminiscent of this because I just really like the distressed look, and I like that it's just kind of thrown on him. So I like how they did this here. It's just a bunch of different cuts, and they can just kind of flop around. There's no wires or anything out through here. It's just kind of like folded and creased there. You can probably like move it around if you want, but I like it looking kind of all messed up as it is. So I think they did a really good job with this. And then the only thing that kind of caught me off guard, I never really realized when I opened this figure, was that he's wearing swishy pants. I never would have known. He's wearing like 80s style swooshy pants. I never noticed if this is like, I genuinely do not know if this is accurate to the film. But yeah, these are like 80s style swooshy pants. If you're familiar with like the Batman Beyond figure that just recently came out, it's kind of similar to those kind of pants. But obviously this came out much sooner. But I mean, the positive side is you don't really have a whole lot of I mean, you get a lot of free range of motion with it. So I do like the material. It just kind of caught me off guard. I expected just the standard Jedi robe cloth kind of throughout. And really, this guy doesn't have any of that. It's all kind of it's all unique in a lot of ways. Like none of this is a standard, Jedi like your Obi-Wan or Anakin or Qui-Gon. They all have very, very similar robes, almost identical robes, and like material wise and everything. Colors are different, sure. But he's very unique in that regard. So I really just love the look of this version of Kylo Ren. Now, the only thing that I really wish it would have came with is two things. One, I wish it would have came with a Ben Solo head sculpt. So an Adam Driver head sculpt, I think it's really missing out on that. And then it would have been great to come with the melted Darth Vader helmet. Like a little, like, imagine like a little stand with that Darth Vader helmet on it. I think that would have been great. Like if there would have been a Sideshow exclusive to have like maybe both of those or just one of those things, I think that would have been really cool. So, but otherwise though, I'm really happy with this figure. I think it looks great. Everything about it's very good. Let's go over articulation here, and then we'll get him in some poses. Have a bring Phasma out, get a quick comparison, and we'll take a closer look. One thing I will say here is that they did a good job with the neck too. You kind of see here, they did a good job of making this match the kind of the ridges that go along on the sleeve here. But this is actually like a pleather material, which is kind of interesting. Nothing else is very pleather material on here, but you do not see the neck at all, so it's not like it stands out by any means. So, but let's go over articulation. So as far as the arms go, you'll have full range of motion going like all the way up to about there, and then coming forward, go all the way out to there, no problem. You do have a butterfly joint up there, and then you have a double bend at the elbow going in, no complaints there. And then again with the legs, with these swishy pants, it comes right up there. Absolutely no issue at all. And then we'll go sideways, pretty much absolutely no issue at all. So yeah, he's really good with that. Oh yeah, I completely forgot to look at the boots here. And that was even something I wanted to talk about. But yeah, let's take a look at the boots. So as you can see, they are much, much dirtier looking than those gloves were. But again, some of the gloves did kind of match this. I just found it kind of odd that not all of them did. Like some did, some didn't, which is a strange choice, but nevertheless, it doesn't really bother me all that much. But like as you can see, like this hand even has a different amount of the dust on it than the other ones did. It's kind of more in the middle. So very strange. Not something that you really notice or bothers me by any means, but again, more of just an interesting choice that they don't really all match, but the boots here are just kind of one solid rubber sculpt as opposed to like any sort of leather material or anything like that, but you do get a little bit of motion out of them. Like you can get some swivel. I almost think that my foot almost feels like it's detached. Very strange because I'm getting a bend right here in a very odd location. Might have to take a look at that and see if maybe it's just completely detached. But either way, you get a double bend at the knee as well. But on the bottom of the boots, no tread marks or anything like that, just Lucasfilm on there. So that pretty much covers it. I do like the sculpt of the boots, whether or not I'll have to see and play with them more to see if there'll be an issue with like not having a split boot cut design. But like I said, if this is if my foot is just not completely detached here and there's actually a joint right here in the midsection, that might actually cover a bit more kind of get it seems like it might allow you to still get some posing out of this because there's like an additional bend up like a little bit higher up than it's supposed to be. So very interesting choice. Haven't really seen that before. So, but with that down out of the way, let's get him into some poses and kind of give my final thoughts on the figure, bring Phasma out, give a comparison shot, and wrap up the review. All right, so there you have it, guys. That was my quick review of the Force Awakens Hot Toys Kylo Ren. Now, I got him in some poses, back up on the turntable, brought out Captain Phasma for a side-by-side comparison. Let's take a look at that, and I'll kind of give my final thoughts and everything. So first off here, got him in a pretty simple, just straight up and down standing pose, and like this is why I really love this figure, because I just love the look of him. Everything looks like the costume itself. It just looks great. Again, I honestly don't know why they didn't come with an Adam Driver head sculpt, because he takes his helmet off in that movie and it's the first time you see him. So my guess is that it was one of those things, and as you can see, sorry to interrupt myself here, but man, these two look absolutely perfect on the shelf together. Like I said, these are the absolute only two sequel figures I plan on getting ever, at least purchasing. Speaking of purchasing, I happen to get these on eBay. So if you're interested in these two figures in particular, or maybe had, you know, if you're interested in them at all, check eBay. I got both of them for upwards of $50 to $70 under original retail price, brand new in box, unopened. So can't really beat that. Each of them retailed somewhere between like $230 and $250. I forget, or they could have both been $250. I can't remember which. Let's just say they were around $250 retail. I got them for both under $200 shipped. So if you're interested in them at all, check eBay. You might get lucky like I did. And like with the Kylo Ren, for instance, I told this when I did the unboxing on stream. I put a bid in, I think it was for like $170, ended up being the only bidder on the entire thing. I forgot I even bid on it, and boom, it was like, I got a notification saying, "Oh, you won." And I was like, "Cool, there it is." Like, got it. So, because I ended up getting the Kylo, I had to get a Phasma, and luckily the same thing happened, but I did have to outbid somebody for it, but it's still like $60 under retail or something, brand new in box. So, if you're interested at all, go check eBay. Go check. I'm sure you could find one. When I went to a toy show, someone was selling a used Phasma for 150. So you can find them out there for pretty cheap. I think that's one of the benefits of the sequel trilogy actually being kind of so divisive, is that the figures really aren't worth all that much. Like, at least like a lot of them. You can find a lot of them for cheap. Like, even like I said, new in box or used, you can normally get pretty good deals on them. So be on the lookout for that. And like I said, the thing is with the Kylo Ren, back to what I was saying before, I just love the overall look of the figure. Like, his costuming looks great. But to my original point, he comes with, in the Force Awakens, you see him without his helmet. So I don't know why he didn't come with it. And my only guess is that this was something that, like a lot of things, Hot Toys will get the license and approval to do these figures, but it'll be before they'll announce them, and it'll be before the movie comes out. So my guess is that they announced the Kylo Ren Force Awakens figure when the first trailer dropped. So the movie hadn't come out yet. So there was no actual public knowledge of the helmet being removed. So that is my guess as to why it did not end up coming with an Adam Driver head sculpt. I may be wrong, but that's happened plenty of times with these Hot Toys releases that get announced far in advance, because they can't do that. They can't announce the figure and like pretty much spoil it. That's why like Mando, when they did the Mando figures, it didn't come with the Beskar staff, that kind of thing. So that's my guess, you know what I mean? But either way, who knows? It was so long ago. You can find Adam Driver head sculpts out there. I may end up picking one up. I may not. But so, whereas that's one of my complaints with it. My other complaint, as far as like things that I wish it would have came with, again, would have been that melted Vader helmet because I got these things here, and you can pick these up anywhere. Like, take a look at these. You can get these boxes. These are for, like, to store head sculpts in. They just come with where I got them from, they come with this little thing that you can, like, but it's just like a little suction cup, but it's they just give it to you because you can stick head sculpts on it, and then they just sit there. It's like a nice little clear stand for them, kind of a jank one, but it works. But you can take that off, but you have this, like, think of how dope it would have been to have gotten that Vader head sculpt, the melted one, and it come with, even if it came by itself, you could buy one of these, put it in there, maybe rig up an LED light box on here, and just, like, have that, like, illuminating up. Think of how cool of a display pieces would be if you had that melted Vader head sculpt. That's the one thing I wish it would have came with, and I can't remember if, any of the other ones even came with a melted Vader head sculpt. I don't think any of them did, but correct me if I'm wrong. I would be interested in trying to find a 1/6 melted Vader helmet just to put with the display of, this and Phasma. So, but nevertheless, guys, again, I'm really happy with the figure. I do have a couple, like, other, like, gripes about, like, he's very posable, he's very flexible, but he's actually kind of hard to actually, like, stand up. Like I was showing in the, when I was doing the unboxing portion, looking at his feet, going over the details of the figure, his ankle joints are, like, fairly high up in those boots, and there's just not a lot of stability. The joints down there in the feet and, like, the leg section, they don't hold up very well. It's not that they're, like, weak and loose, like, or not that they're, like, weak. Well, no, it's not that they're loose, it's that they're weak. So, like, you try to, like, for instance, I tried to get him in the, like, the classic pose from the trailer that wasn't even in the movie, where he's, like, in the woods and the camera's behind him and he just is, like, kinda hunched over, and then he ignites the lightsaber. So he's kinda hunched over in the front, and then he just, like, ignites it down to the right. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm doing that pose. I tried to get him in that pose, and, like, he just can't really stand like that, like, naturally. So, it's like, you kinda have the same problem with Phasma. I don't know if it was just, like, the kind of bodies they were using at this point in time. It's, like, a little bit more top heavy than the joints on his lower half can really hold up on him, because 'cause they're not very heavy bodies or anything like that. So it is kinda strange. It's just the joints aren't as tight as I would have liked them to be, but in the end, it's not really the biggest concern for me. Neither of these figures or any figures that, I would be having in, like, super duper crazy action kind of poses or anything like that. So for me, they do get the job done. I think they work perfectly fine, and it's like, again, they look great on the shelf together. Now, other people, like I said, a lot of people have been posting their reviews for the Rise of Skywalker Kylo Ren that should be shipping from, like, Sideshow and, like, Toys Wonderland and everything right now. So if, if you prefer that look, go ahead and get it. I don't really care for that look all that much. I do think that the Adam Driver head sculpt is better than the one that came with Last Jedi. So if you're kind of wanting one that just comes with the head sculpt, then I would definitely go with the Rise of Skywalker one. You could probably find it cheaper since it just kind of came out. But like I said, you never know. Since the sequel trilogy wasn't very popular, all of these figures seem to be, fairly cheap. At least when they typically run fairly cheap. So they shouldn't be too hard for you to find or pick up somewhere. But man, God, these two together in particular, they just look so great on the shelf together. Like, I can't get over it. Like, this was actually the first time in the video here that I actually had them standing together. And boy, oh boy, they look phenomenal. So I'm very pleased to have them again. Biggest complaint: the bodies aren't the greatest, honestly, on either of them. Like, they've come a long ways, just even since 2015. A lot of the bodies they use, just for even, like, kind of generic figures, they hold up a little bit better. They're a little bit more stable. You can do a little bit more with them. Just one thing I've kind of noticed, but nevertheless, I like them. So let me know what you guys think. Do you have the Force Awakens, Kylo Ren or Captain Phasma? Do you like them? I personally, I like them, but I just like them for the look. Like, they're really the only two cool things that I liked out of the sequel trilogy were just, honestly, just how they looked, more so than the actual characters. They didn't really do enough with Phasma, and I only liked some of the things they did with Kylo, in all honesty, but story for another time. So, guys, don't forget, every Monday, we have our show, Honest and Uneducated. You can submit topics and questions to the show by emailing us at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. Every Friday, we do our live stream. So if you like talking figures and hanging out and playing video games and things like that, come join us on the stream day. Please come join us every Friday when we stream. I'll do like the figure unboxing. So if I get a new figure, I'll do an unboxing. We'll talk about it. If there's any new figure releases, we normally talk about it. We play some games, hang out, do all that sorts of fun stuff. And every Wednesday, as you see today, all the collectible reviews. I cannot talk today. Jesus. Every Wednesday, the collectible reviews go up on the channel. So Monday, our show, Honest and Uneducated, comes out. Every Wednesday, collectible reviews. Then every Friday, we do our live streams, figure unboxings, things like that. So thanks again for watching, guys. If you liked the video, like it. Actually click the like button and like it, and then subscribe, and then share it. Do all that sort of fun stuff that YouTube algorithm likes. And then that's it for today. So until next time, guys, take care, and I'll see you next time.